We've got Amy
Oh.
coming in.
Hey, Amy.
Hey, girls.
Let's just get started. Let's just talk about consignment percentages. Our round table right now is a round table of 3. We can make a good circle with 3, and we'll add more as they come in if they're able to find these wackadoodle links. Percentages. Everybody has different thoughts and ideas on what they do with their percentages in consignment. We all have different thoughts on that. Samantha, why don't we start with you and what you do?
Yeah, so when I started, I was actually a lot lower because I was going off what a brick and mortar did here, and I wish I hadn't done that. So I ended up upping it later. So it is possible to up your percentages later on. I've done it, and I'm going to do it again. So it is possible. I currently do a 50-50 split, and I don't give them the option to come and pick anything up afterwards. So there's nothing there after that. The 50-50 split, whatever doesn't sell in 6 months is donated. That's it. And it's the same for friends, family, the pastor down the street. It doesn't matter. 50-50 split.
Drop the hammer, girl. Drop the hammer. Drop the hammer. So yeah, Libby and I have our setup 60-40, which we've talked about also on several episodes. We kind of keep that across the board. And I will, though, for mine, because I more like to go out and source items and sell. So I have a limited amount of consigners. So because I have less product of theirs to store and deal with, I will extend on theirs and I will keep them for a bit longer. And I'm less likely to take lower deals at the, usually as you get down to the end of your consignment, you want to get it sold for them. So you'll market low just to get, so they can get something for it and get it out the door. I'm less likely to do that early on because I will extend mine, but I only do that because my business model is not just consignment. My business model is a lot less consignment. If I were doing it the other way, I would certainly be more strict on the timeline that I held their items because you can't store everything.
Right.
Amy, how about you? Hacking alleys, I love it.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your business. Like, are you online, brick and mortar? I don't really recall.
I'm currently all online.
Okay.
I've been primarily selling all vintage for most of my reselling career.
Fun.
I've been on Etsy for about it'll be 11 years in May. But I've kind of grown up doing this. My mom always did some sort of thrifting, reselling, so I kind of learned all of this through her. And then in my adult life started doing it on my own a little bit. I was on eBay back in the day when eBay was young, and then kind of got off of that for a while, and then started on Etsy when Etsy was newer, and then recently got back onto eBay again in the last 18 months or so. But I also do some stuff on Kitizen. I'm on Poshmark as well. So, but I live in an area that is in Eastern North Carolina. So we're in, we have an interesting demographic. We have a lot of folks that have downsized to this area and are also still downsizing, but we also have a large military community.
Awesome.
So there are a couple of clothing type consignment stores, but there are no kids consignment stores. There was one for a while when we first came to this area. They closed down, and she moved out of the area. But there's obviously a big turnover. I mean, when military families move, they unpack.
We have a very tiny military base here, but even every year it's a huge deal when they're leaving.
Yeah. And just the ones that stay here, they tend to lead a life that they purge a lot.
Yep.
They don't tend to hang on to a lot of things. They just, when they have yard sales and stuff, they're just ready to get rid of it.
Yep.
And then our older community too. I mean, some of them are kind of in between that retirement age and the downsizing. So they move down here and they're like a young retirement age or a pre-retirement age. So they still have a lot of stuff, but then they want to get rid of it. So or they're very active. So I feel like there is definitely a need for that. So, and I've done, the old, here, just take it kind of stuff. And, or, people from church or whatever, like just,
Right.
do whatever you want with it kind of thing.
Yep.
So I've never really done it formally. So I'm really sort of trying to kind of figure out how I can do this or at least be ready to do this the right way.
Awesome.
So,
well,
I think I came to the right place.
Looks like we turned this from consignments, percentages, and fees to we're going to chat with Amy, and she gets her own little session.
Let's get your party started. I love
That's
it.
awesome. So, are you going to continue with the vintage things then when you interact with people and think about getting consignment things in, or what kind of things do you want to get on consignment?
I think it'll probably tend to be more towards like the kid stuff. There probably will be some vintage stuff in there. But there are a few good like estate sale companies. There's a really good antique place downtown that they also do auctions. They're kind of really known throughout kind of the Eastern Seaboard. They've got a good handle on things. So a lot of people like go to them. It's not that they wouldn't come to me, but and I'm pretty good at sourcing the vintage stuff, so I don't feel like there's a big need for it. I think if I had a good handle on consignment, if it was something that I could kind of fit for whatever the need was. But I think the idea of having something like for the kids' clothing, whatever toys, whatever that may be, the eBay portion of it, the kind of general items is probably where there's a definite need and where I would be able to kind of open that up and really find a market.
I mean, being that there's nobody that's doing it in your area,
Mm-mm.
I know when my son was 20 something years ago, itty bitty, I mean, consignment was huge. For shopping, and I mean, your kids grow so fast, right? And so like for me, all of my college roommates and buddies who had babies first, they all had girls. I'm like, wait, I can't get the hand-me-downs. Where are the hand-me-downs?
Yeah.
So they were smart because then they had their boys later, so they got my hand-me-downs, right?
Oh yeah, it was all planned that way too. Yeah.
But I guess the good thing about it is I love to shop, so I was okay buying this stuff. But anyway, I loved consignment stores for kids because they grow so fast out of their items that not only are you needing a place to let those things go, but you're needing a place to get more. So it's such a fast, I know that there's not as much money in children's individual items as there can be in adults, but I feel like they can be if it's done right, there's such a fast,
quick turnover
growth of kids.
Yeah. The other thing that I've discovered too is my youngest is 4 and he has developmental delays, and the things that we have become aware of, just that, we've had to purchase for him and things like that. And thankfully, we have resources and insurance and things like that we can get our hands on a lot of these things. But just even what the insurance pays for some of this stuff is unbelievable. And we've been able to get some of these things, but then he's young and he's still growing, and we have some of the stuff, like there's equipment and some learning tools and things like that I mean, it's like, what do you do with this when you're all done with it? Some of it's a little bit bigger and larger that I wouldn't want to put on eBay because I don't want to ship it, and we're in a small area, so it wouldn't be something I'd put in like for a pickup, because we're kind of out of that area that you would do a local pickup, because there'd be very few people I think that would be on eBay in this area. So there's a market for that kind of stuff too.
I do want to stop you right there. So I thought the same thing with local pickup stuff. Like I'm in a town, but I was like, there's hardly anybody on eBay who's going to come and pick these things up. I have people that come up from Detroit, which is 5+ hours away from me.
Yeah.
And when they are coming through here for a vacation, like to go through, they're not coming here for a vacation, but when they're passing through the area, or if they have a family member that's nearby, they'll contact them. I do actually get quite a few local pickups, even though I am in a
Really?
very strange location. Yeah. And because
are you in the
I'm near
UP?
the Canadian. Yeah, I'm in the UP.
Okay.
I'm near the Canadian border, so I will have Canadians that will opt to do local pickup, so they can just drive across and grab the item instead of pay for the shipping, which is not your situation. But I have done local pickup when I was traveling to another state. Like there are things.
I have too. And
Really?
when Libby and I were in the storefront, even now, Libby will say, I mean, we've had people drive from states to get some specific item. Now, we're talking more like maybe a piece of furniture versus a children's outfit, right? Like but the bigger stuff that you're talking about, depending on what it is. Like I had a walker, like a rollator of my mom's after she passed, and I put it local pickup. Funny thing that happened here was the woman that wanted it lived up north, and it was literally a week and a half before we were taking a road trip up to Maine. So I said, look, if you really want it and you want to buy it, we drive right through your town. We'll drop it off at your house. And that we did curbside service.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Those situations happen more often than you realize they do. Or we've had the one where I really want this. A friend of mine is coming to your area on family vacation. Yep. Can they pick it up?
Okay.
And they'll have other people pick it up. So you would be surprised.
Yeah, so just a general tidbit is I make sure that local pickup is on all of my eBay items, and then they just have that option. I've had like small artwork prints picked up, and the one some people have been up here and they needed a hat and mittens. They came and grabbed those. So yeah. So I was just going to share that as well, because that is a really good point.
Okay. That's good to know, because I thought it would kind of be a waste of time.
No, it doesn't hurt anything to put it on there. So definitely, put local pickups on there, and yeah, it doesn't hurt. If sometimes you'll get the rare occasion that somebody hits it by accident, and then you can just cancel that sale and they can reorder it. Like it's not that big a deal either. And it doesn't happen very often.
Okay. Now, because some of this stuff, like some of this equipment can be hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And
right.
And I know that there's other people besides me in this, as I've become part of this community now, that people have this stuff and they don't know what to do with it. So that may be something that I could, offer to people that I can try to sell it for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would be a great thing. I'm assuming Libby's comment sounds like it might be an amazing opportunity to pull yourself on as a consignor. I think what she's wording, if I'm reading that correctly, is that this would be a great opportunity with your items to start yourself as a consignor, right? Mm-hmm. And start yourself that process to teach yourself how you would run that through, and you be your first client.
Yes.
Yeah. So step one would go to consignmentchats.com and get our free template, like our sample agreement. And that just hits all the basics. We talk about percentage and fees in there. We talk about returns and things like that. So just use that as a basis and think about your own steps and what you would put in there. And then, yes, like she said, set up your first account and have that be you, and have it be this one little bag of things right here. And how are you going to keep track of those items, the percentage fee, all that stuff? You can do it as those things sell. And then you can have that little thing there and go, okay, that whole thing went through here, and this is how I would do it with somebody else. And then start with a friend or a family member after that. And same thing, like a bag of clothes or whatever, and just have it go through that process again. So that way you're super comfortable with it before you put it out to people, because as soon as you put it out there, you're going to have tons of people.
And it gives you the opportunity to learn your process. And by you doing it, you'll figure out along the way, okay, wait a minute, I shouldn't have stored those this way. I should store them this way. I shouldn't have run that through the process with this step, or I can take this step out. It's not necessary in my process. Mm-hmm. And you really learn a lot before you end up with so much inventory that you can still make changes. I mean, we still make changes, and we have 11,000 items in our eBay store. but it's harder. It takes more time when you make those changes.
Yeah.
Had we known when we started this process 12 years ago to run through this like this on our own, maybe we would have saved a lot of headache now, right?
So I want to go back to consignment percentages and fees and just say, like, the minimum that I would do is a 50-50 split. You're doing the work. I recommend to most people that they do a 60-40. 60 is to you because you're doing the work. You're earning that 60%. They're happy to get 40 later on. Like, most people even forget they gave you things, honestly.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, oh, I have money. That's cool. So yeah, 50-50 minimum, 60-40 is even better, and a total industry norm. Like, you're not greedy or anything crazy with that. Don't ever feel that way.
And that's and then that's after fees, after shipping and everything. Do you charge like an initial fee for like processing through all their stuff or anything, or do you usually just call it just 50-50?
Yeah, I just do 50-50. I don't have any extra fees or anything. Some people will charge a fee after it sells, or like just an extra like handling fee or whatever, or they'll charge a fee for if they want the items back, they'll charge like a pulling fee to pull that item and give it back to them. But I don't do any of that either. I do think having that in an agreement is a good thing though. So if somebody does, like, if you put it in there that, it's a $20 per item fee if they want their item back, especially if you end up doing higher price items and stuff, and they say, oh, just kidding, I realize that I still need X, Y, and Z or whatever, but you already put all the work into taking the photographs and listing it and putting it on the platforms, and maybe you stored it for 3 weeks already. And then that way you're at least getting something out of it when they come and take that item back. And it deters people from being wishy-washy about things. Like, either they're committed and they're going to give you the things, or they're not and they're going to have to pay for it. Like, so I do like when people mention they have that fee.
So with consignment, once the consignment contract ends, and so what do you typically do with all of the items? Do you automatically donate it? Do you ever like say that it immediately becomes my stuff and then you can list it if you want to after that? Do you ever do that?
So we do both with ours. In our contract, it states that at the end of your term, those items become ours, and then we determine what we do with it from there. So we do have a lot of charity accounts that consign under us. So some of those things will be used in our online like charity events that we do for those accounts, but some of that will just go into our store inventory and just get sold in order to help cover the fees, the time, the money it took for us to handle those items, process those items. But we do make sure that our consignor, they know that we do everything we can in that time period to sell their item. Like, we go down to all the way to the end of their consignment period and mark things down on low sale just to try to get that sale for them. Okay. And if it doesn't sell at that point, then it becomes ours, and it's written in our contract. And we don't get, Libby can say in the comments, you don't get complaints about it. They trust and they see us because of our, we have Facebook page. They see us doing live selling. They just don't question it. There's a trust there. And they see us do events where we are doing sales where that money is going to charity. So there is a trust there. But whatever you set up, my biggest thing I always say is set it up confidently and present it confidently. Don't ever hem or haw when you're going over that contract with them. Don't practice it repeatedly with your spouse, your kids, in the mirror, so that the day that you do sit down with that person, it is rolling off your tongue, because if you're confident, they're confident in you.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Libby said in the comments, just be very clear with it up front, be very transparent, because then you will have the issues if you don't have that in your agreement or you haven't spoken to them about it. And they see a year later that it's still for sale and you said it was only going to be available for 3 months, or if it's sold and you're like, guys, look at what a great flip this is. Like, you never know. You don't want to have to worry about that. And I said, most people bring you stuff and then they forget they even ever gave you. They're just happy to bring it to somebody that's not a Goodwill, or a major thing. So most of them, they're just pumped that it's going somewhere, going to get a good home, and then they get money later that they forgot about. It's great.
And have the confidence in this thought too. If they're not bringing it to you to sell, what are they going to do with it? They're either going to sell it for $3 at a yard sale and go through all that work, or they're going to go drop it off at a Goodwill, right? So the service you're offering for them is, I'm going to give you 60 days to try to do my best to make you money. And guess what? If it doesn't sell, it's out of your hands anyway. Then I'm going to take care of what happens to it beyond that. You don't ever have to look at it again. Right?
I'm just loving when Libby's in the comments. Like, this is great. I'm gonna keep.
I know. I was like,
for a while.
Libby's in there. Like, she keeps popping up. Like, I'm here.
This one's great. Well, she can't steamroll us like this. We actually get to talk.
Right?
Now she's rolling her eyes at us. It's great.
I see you, Libby. I appreciate all your input too.
Yes, she just said
you're awesome.
You are offering a service that is very in demand, and that is the truth. And that's where your confidence comes in your words, because you are offering them a service and you stand behind that. I mean, I am taking all this off your plate. What's the alternative, right? Like, nobody wants to do all that.
So for anybody else that likes this one-on-one service like this, you can join our Patreon, and we offer coaching for your businesses. Amy,
fantastic.
Amy went out on a limb today, and she was like, "I'm going to go on camera and I'm going to ask questions." And look at all this attention she gets. It's
out of this, she's getting like a free coaching session.
Yes.
This is like a commercial for your whole Patreon.
Yes.
Like, not even planned.
I love it. Unplanned, unscripted.
We're here for fun. It works.
I mean, I got to get off here and go sign up.
There we go. We'll keep following along with you. Yeah,
that's right.
I was going to say too, I know at one point what we did, and this is also another thing, maybe when you think about adding an added like fee to your consignment, depending on what your long-term goal is, maybe you want to do consignment, but you never want to move beyond 10 consigners, right? Mm-hmm. My goal is not to have 200 consigners. That, for me personally, that's not my goal. I'm not normal. Other people want a ton, but for me, that's not my goal. Whatever your goal is, but if you decide you are going to have that open ability to grow, the one good thing about having some kind of a fee set up is, like when we started with software, if you ever grow to needing a consignment software, that's money coming out of your pocket to pay for that software. But that software is then offering your consignees an opportunity to see all their stuff online. They can see what money they're making. They can see it sell. So we've charged before a monthly fee to help offset that. And they love it because they can go right on their account and see exactly what sells live time. Like, it's all real time. If it sells, they'll go in that day and see what sold that day, how much money they're earning off of it. And they don't mind paying $1 a month or whatever it is, because they get to easily see right then and there what's happening with their items. When we mark it donated or turn it into our inventory, the status changes and they see it right there.
Okay, I'm putting my hands up for when you edit this.
Okay.
Libby, I'm giving her homework since she's not here, which I know is out of her control. But you do a monthly fee as well. I don't charge a monthly fee. And I know there's many scenarios for charging a monthly fee. You can say it's a service fee. You can say it's for your software or whatever. So I want her to record her own little like quick insert that we can put in here to explain what she meant by this comment and how she explains a monthly fee in her reasoning.
Hey, y'all. So the question was asked about fees for consignment. So one of the options is also that you can add a monthly fee. You can add a fee per item that you charge back to the consignor. And this just depends on your business model, but it is an option. So I actually started to do that in my business. I added a monthly fee. So as long as the consignor had things in stock, they were charged. Mine was only $1 a month. And I use that to pay for my consignment software. And I would say this is to give you online access to your account. We do charge $1 a month fee, and it was automatically added to anybody's account that had a positive balance and a active inventory item. So let me show you. So in our example consignor agreement, which you can download at consignmentchats.com, you will see there is under retained fees, we have that laid out as an option. You can keep that, you can get rid of it, but a fee of blank dollars per month will be deducted from your account for online access. So that is definitely an option. It could be for a processing fee if you're manually doing spreadsheets or sending people. It could be for postage. So however you want to charge that back. And then don't forget, you can do a per item fee. A lot of people that are doing high-end items will do a per item fee. So that is also an option. So lots of options there if you want to add that as part of your consignment structure. My advice is always keep it simple. The less you have to interact or touch an item, the more profit you're going to make. So just think about the administrative work that might be involved if you decide to do that, but keep it open as an option. All right. Hopefully that helps.
She was just going Madonna on us, like voting
Right.
or something.
I do that as well. Yeah.
Hello from the house. Cheers, Jason. Welcome.
Hi, Jason.
Glad you're here.
So Amy, another thing that I would recommend that has nothing to do with percentages or fees, but we do also, I think we have something for it on consignmentchats.com on our link tree. We definitely have talked about it on our YouTube page, is a mission statement. I'm sitting,
Okay.
I keep mine right here in front of my desk, giving used items a second life at an affordable price. And it reminds me of why I started this and that I want to make things affordable for people and yada, yada, yada. As you go into this niche of this, special children's things and these aid items and stuff like that,
What an
I
amazing
think that you could have a kick butt mission statement that would not only appeal to people wanting to consign with you because they want to be a part of that mission, but also about how you're giving back and that kind of thing as well, and just by making things available to the community that isn't necessarily accessible. So
That's a good point. And her niche, the right mission statement right there could build a ton of trust just in the right mission statement with that particular niche. Yeah.
It's a good thought. Okay.
That's a real good point.
So how do you usually go about doing your sorting? Do you, assuming that the client doesn't want to have like full control over everything, like they don't want to say, I want everything back that you don't want.
Right.
Do you usually just say, I'll take everything and whatever we don't want to list, we'll go ahead and donate for you, like as kind of part of that service?
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
do you kind of pick through it and say, just give them back everything kind of thing?
Yeah. So I love this. Is great. This is
She
great.
is, isn't she, Jason? Heckler.
So it depends on the person. I know some people that don't want to waste their time with that. They just want sellable items and they set guidelines of, I want things that are ahead over a $100 retail value or $50 retail value. Like they will set guidelines so that the consigners bring them a certain type of thing. But I find, and I know Libby and Molly have found the same thing, where people don't know what their stuff is worth. They don't know what the resale market is like. So they're making assumptions and they're bringing you some things, but then they're also telling you, well, I already donated or gave this thing away. And you're like, oh, that was the thing I wanted. What did you do?
What did you do?
So for me, I've always just been in the aspect of bring me things. I still limit how much they can bring me. 4 bags or boxes of a certain size every couple of weeks is the max. And so I'm not overwhelmed with the sorting part of it. But when I get it, I go through it and I make piles. I can do this in my Facebook group because it's quick and they're not as expensive. These are going online. These are going to Goodwill. This is going in the trash. So like I make my piles and they trust me to do that. It's in my agreement. It's right up front. They're happy that they didn't have to go through it and put a lot of thought into it.
Yep.
So that's the way I do it. And I love it.
Again, it's a service. It's a service. And they're most likely willing to come to you for that than if you said to them, I'm only going to take X, Y, and Z. I mean, when you're cleaning out your closet, you really, like for me, if I wasn't in this business or before I ever got in this business, if I was cleaning out my closet, it was all just going in a bag, you know? And the more that you be specific about certain things, the quality of those items. Like we do not want your undergarments, your used undergarments. We do not want smoke any items from a smoking home, clothing. There's certain things you have to be.
Rips, stains. You
Yeah.
still want things that are clean. Try to make sure things are laundered before they bring it to you and stuff like that. For sure, definitely have the standards.
Yeah.
But
my biggest thing I would always say, especially when we were in the storefront, when people would come in and ask, is when you're looking through your items, if you wouldn't wear it, they wouldn't wear it. Because we had a lot of people that would come in with that attitude. Oh, well, it's got a hole in it, but somebody will want it. Really?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you buy it like this?
Right.
Yeah.
If you won't put it on your body, now I'm not saying you've worn it for 2 years, you're over it, you want something new. I get that. But if it's not something, in the condition that you would pick it off the rack and put it on yourself, then please don't bring it in. Please don't.
And Old Navy and Prada in the same bag. It's so true. If I start putting limits on things, people either never get around to sorting their stuff to bring it to you and you miss out on the whole bunch. Or like I said, I've heard so many times where they're like, well, I was also going to put X, Y, and Z in, but like, I didn't really think it was that big a deal. So I just brought those over to the Salvation Army instead. And I'm like, those are actually trending on TikTok right now and they would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And
you'll have more control over that.
$100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the more control you have, the better. And as long as you're upfront with that, like always have the items in your possession. Don't make any deals with people where they're like, well, I'll send you some pictures. Then if you can list it and then we'll figure it out after that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
And then up to your discretion with pricing and like all that kind of stuff. Like you're the expert. You've been doing this for a long time. And so you're just going to shift that knowledge into, a different thing, but you're still an expert at that because you're living it every day with your child. So you're the expert, about this in many aspects, and they need to just trust that. And if you get any pushback once you have your agreement set and you present your things, then it's not the right fit. There's tons of people out there that would be the right fit. Yeah.
You need a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah, because especially when you get to those higher value things, people will be like, well, what do you think you're going to sell it for?
Yeah.
Right.
I've had that happen often, and I will say to them, it is my job as a professional to take the time to find the right market value for this. So as soon as I know what I'm going to list at, I'll let you know. But I always tell them even what I listed at isn't necessarily what it will end up selling for. And we do have that in our contract, that we have the power to adjust prices as we see fit.
Yeah. And I use the word research. When you use the word research and say, I'm going to research the market value of these items. And the thing about percentages too, that I like to remind people of is you may be charging, $1 per client per month fee or something like that, something minimal. But for the most part, you're making your money from the percentage. So the more you get for it, the higher you get paid and the higher they get paid. That you're on the same.
I would say all the time, the more you make, the more I make. Trust me, I'm not trying to sell it for I want it to sell as high as it can too, because that means I'm making money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm only selling it for a couple bucks, it's only worth a couple bucks, and I know I can't get any more money out of it because I mean, let's be real. I want your stuff to go to a new home, and I want you to make money, but this is my business, and I need to make the money too. Like,
yeah. I've had people ask me over the years, like their antiques or whatever, like, how much do you think I can get for this? I'm like, whatever, somebody will pay you for it.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line, and that can change day to day.
And nowadays, with like I said, TikTok and things like that, and all the different trends and things. Who knows? It's a roller coaster with some stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in today could be out tomorrow and vice versa. I mean, we live in the cancel society. Things get canceled on social media.
Yeah.
That too. It can go both ways. Yeah.
Well, and that's you had mentioned about how, there's some people, especially in the children's market, that are very, very specific about what they'll take and what they'll sell, especially like on Citizen. But and Citizen tends to drive certain brands too. It's a good platform, but it can be a tricky platform to learn to sell on.
It can.
But there's also I don't know if either of you have sold on it or Libby sold on it ever.
I haven't sold on it, but we have all met the CEO in person, and I had a fantastic conversation with her. Love her, but I have never sold on the platform.
Yeah, it's a good platform, and that is one of the best things about it is that the people that started the platform are running the platform. So you've got people that are invested in it, that are running it, and but they have a group on there that's an in search of group, and so you can actually go on there, whether you're a seller or a buyer, and post on there and see what, like, if I'm looking for something for my kid, I can just post on there. So sellers can go on there and say, I've got this, and like post right in the comments. But
and you can look on there and see what people are looking for. I do that in my Facebook group because I do my lower end and bulkier items in Facebook. And that's something I implemented, was putting a post out there every couple of weeks of, put in the comments what you're in search of. And then that way I know if all of a sudden people are getting ready to go on spring break and everybody wants swimsuits, I need to go dig out any swimsuits that might have come in and hurry up and list those so that they're available. So that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it's good to know to go look at that. And yes, I mean, if I'm going to go through stuff, I know that, T and Minnie Bowden and Hannah Anderson, those things are definitely probably going to be quicker to sell. But I generally, if I get like a bunch of stuff that's, like nice, newer Cat and Jack stuff, I wouldn't turn it down. Because one thing that I've learned from that feed is you often see people that are posting, they're like, does anybody have this in a 5T or a 6X or a 4T or whatever? Because it's like their kid's favorite shirt or favorite whatever.
Yes.
They've outgrown it, or their favorite dress, and they need a new one. And it doesn't matter what brand it is.
Right.
Yep.
Or they just want like this that they've seen that's matching, or it's a random Cat and Jack thing that everybody has. Like, I remember a few years ago, my daughter had those, all the girls had those Cat and Jack little velvet, the cat ballet shoes that they put out.
Yes.
And everybody had them, and she outgrew those. She wore a hole in them, and I looked everywhere to try to find another size.
The next size up, please.
Right. So that's a thing to keep in mind with kids' clothes too, is that,
For sure.
trying to find the next size in something that your kid's attached to.
True.
And the other thing I started to do was with their clothes, and I'd go to, if I'm out at garage sales looking for stuff and I find a bunch of stuff, I'll buy it. But is with the less expensive stuff, it's not that cheap anymore. I mean,
right.
So if you can find some stuff that's like new, that are basics, and I was putting them together in bundles.
Yeah, bundles are a good way to go for that kind of stuff.
For sure. For sure.
And it was cheaper than going and buying it at the store. Then people will buy those lower end brands.
Yeah.
So like you said, I wouldn't turn my nose up at it.
I agree. I have to laugh at this comment because I think this in and of itself, Jill, could be a whole new business plan. If I could get $1 for every time somebody said they would sell it themselves and then came back. Like,
there's a fee. We'll just charge them every time they tell us that. Yeah.
But Libby followed up. They do end up, when they come back, being your absolute best consigners because they went out there and they learned themselves, right? They learned how hard it is. I'm like, okay, never mind.
Oh, there was a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant. It was different. That I worked with at the hospital, and you sell on eBay. And I was doing this extremely part-time. I don't even know if I had really started much of consignment yet. But, you sell on eBay? I got this and this. And he starts flipping through all these photos of all this equipment he has at home or whatever. And I told him at the time that I took 40%. Like, it was lower than what I take now even. And he was,
I earned 40%.
I earned. But he goes, oh my God, this is crazy. And he threw a fit. Like, I can't believe I can sell it myself for that. That's ridiculous. And a year later, he was coming up to me and he says, hey, so I still have that stuff and I'm just wondering. And I said, yeah, only now I do a 50-50 split. So I earn 50%, you get 50%, like we do this. And he goes, oh yeah, that sounds great, because he had already tried to sell it and he couldn't.
We're not lying when we use that word earn. We really aren't. We're not lying. We definitely earn that percentage.
Yes, I am terrible. I'm terrible at that. You gotta keep yelling at me. Earned. Good thing I don't have a lot of conversations with actual
Well, I
people.
let you get away with that one because you were talking about in the past. In the past, you did say
True.
that, but now
Yes.
you're changing your words to I
Yes.
earn. Here at Conchi Consignment, we earn 60%.
Yes. Most of my communications are through typing now, and I do it when I'm typing because I
Right.
can see it.
Oh my gosh, how much fun is this little impromptu business coaching bit?
I love it. I feel so special. I feel like I should have a crown on my head.
Right? Who knew you were gonna
Awesome.
get your own episode, Amy? Like,
I know. I love it. Well,
That's
This
awesome.
has been awesome. I mean, I just can't tell you. I feel like now I have like 1,000 ideas running through my brain.
Yeah, so keep us updated for sure. I mean, we're gonna have this on YouTube, and then make sure that you tell us in the community and stuff how things are going. Ask us any questions along the way. You can join the Patreon too and get time with us every week.
For sure.
Yeah,
I'm going to leave you with this advice as we end this episode.
More?
We just talked about a lot of stuff, so your brain is doing this right now, right?
Yeah.
yes,
Do what I do, and my brain, I am really good at this. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed I forget, and then I need Samantha and Libby to remind me. When we get off, get your notepad and just brain dump all these thoughts down, so that later, after you come down, you can look at that and start really thinking priority wise, like what really is my priority. And
I've been taking notes too.
The awesome thing too is this is recorded. You'll be able to go and look at it again.
I should have done better with my hair, but
like, who knew I was going to be a solo YouTube star today?
Yeah,
right.
mine's still wet from my shower. I brushed it. That's it. I went far.
So since this turned out being a solo thing, why don't you tell all of our listeners where they can find you and how they can shop your store?
Well, it's Pack and Alleys. It's not the ampersand, it's AND on all of the platforms, of course, because they don't like the ampersand. But on Etsy, it's Pack and Alleys. On Kitizen and on Poshmark and eBay, it's all the same. So I'm also on Instagram and Facebook.
I've seen that. You're very easy to find. I like it.
Yes.
Consistent branding, y'all. Did y'all
Consistent branding.
Did y'all hear that?
I do have that.
That's my girl. That's my girl. All right. Well, this has been fun. So, Amy, I don't know how many, if you're a podcast listener or watcher, I'm not going to ask you to tell everybody how many episodes of ours you watch. I won't put you on the spot, but we end all of our episodes with a toast. Do you have a cup near you?
Of course I do. I am a consistent watcher.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, friends. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. Find all the ways to connect with us on consignmentchats.com. Episodes are available on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. In addition, join our free private Facebook community.